Jen Jewett is the host for this webinar from Sitting Bull College. I'm from United Tribes Technical College. Jen, did you have anything you wanted to say before I get started?
Basically, this is being recorded and we'll upload it to YouTube once we get it all squared away. Other than that, Linda, maybe you could share your email just in case, you know, because not everybody's going to have a recipe or going to want the recipe and so forth. So, yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to write recipes down and things like that. So I can certainly email recipes. I have recipes also that I've posted onto my Facebook, and I can certainly reshare those. So if you guys have any questions about specific amounts and things like that, let me know. That's really hard for me, and probably for a lot of people who do stuff at home. You know, we don't necessarily measure all the time. I'm not a measuring kind of person, but I understand that some people really need and want that. So I have those all worked out for you, and I'm willing to share them, okay? Okay, so if that's it, I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Welcome to Fermentation. No, we will not be making beer today. We will not be making wine. Not that kind of fermentation. Although that, you know, there are actually basically three primary types of fermentation. And one is the production of ethanol, you know, alcohol. And one is the production or the formation of lactic acid. That's what we're going to be talking about today, is lactic acid fermentation. And there's also acetic acid fermentation, which hopefully my friend Jerry will be able to talk about after a while. That has to do with the making of vinegar. So fermentation is just basically, I mean, you know, it depends on who you're talking to, but it's basically good bacteria breaking things down, and in this case producing lactic acid. In some cases it's producing ethanol, like I was saying earlier, and in some cases those bacteria will produce acetic acid. And it all depends on, you know, the kinds of plants, foods that you're using, that you're fermenting, and how you're fermenting them. You know, we'll be using salt today. Salt is very important. A lot of coastal tribes use ocean water traditionally. But fermentation is traditional for almost every indigenous people in the world. And it's a real misnomer to think that no one fermented anything. If any of my Lakota, Dakota, you know, Ocheti Shakoi friends who make wojapi, traditionally, if you would make wojapi, if you left it out even for 20 to 30 minutes, it will start to ferment that fast. And, you know, obviously, indigenous people don't waste food. So if you leave a bowl of wojapi out for a few days, or a paunch of wojapi, it will definitely start to ferment. And in that case, it's actually producing alcohol, ethanol. But with the presence, the reason that we use salt for lactic acid fermentation is because that will prevent the growth of mold and other undesirable bacteria, and promote the growth of the good stuff, the stuff that you really want. Now, why do we want to ferment things? Why would that be a thing? Why do we care about it? It's delicious, first of all. The formation of lactic acid, the pickling of things, fermentation of vegetables is an art form, and it's so delicious, and everything has different flavors and, you know, different kinds of salt. Like if you guys really get into fermentation and making your own ferments, you'll see that, you know, even it depends on if you're using sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, they'll both taste very different and have very different products. If you, you know, maybe you like your sauerkraut to have a little caraway seed in it, or a fennel seed, or maybe you like it to be spicier. That's totally up to you. You know, there's no end to the creativity and all the kinds of things that you can do. The bacteria, the little microbes that are produced through fermentation are, many of them are very beneficial for our guts. Okay, our gut, our stomach, our intestines, you know, that whole system. has been so destroyed over generations of eating processed foods. And when I say processed foods, I mean things that are super high in non-natural salts, you know, things that are super high in sugars, super high in chemicals like compounds, like food colorings are horrible for our gut. Okay, and so the incidences of eczema, psoriasis, arthritis, inflammatory diseases, allergies among indigenous people can often be attributed to a lack of beneficial gut bacteria. Even the high rates of cancer and heart disease and things like that can often be attributed, gum disease can often be attributed to a lack of good gut bacteria. And you know, I got in an argument with some troll the other day, and I don't know why I decided to argue with him at all. But he was saying, you know, oh, fermented foods, a good gut microbiome is not. And you know, he was non-indigenous, and I thought to myself, only a non-indigenous person would say that, because they have not had their entire diet be completely obliterated, their traditional diet be obliterated almost instantaneously. You know, as indigenous people all over the world, our diet, you know, one day it was this beautiful traditional diet with lots of complex carbohydrates and fermented foods and good bacteria, to the next day being a mixture of refined white flour and lard, you know? And so those things have really had a horrible impact on our gut. And so fermented foods are really essential for helping to build that back up and having a good, healthy gut microbiome. If you also have been on a lot of antibiotics, the antibiotics are non-discriminatory, okay? They will kill the good stuff and the bad stuff, okay? So I noticed that a lot of people who are on heavy antibiotics for long periods of time, not only has it really messed with their gut, but it's messed with all of their beneficial bacteria, you know, the stuff in their gut, but also the stuff even in their ears. People who are on a lot of antibiotics tend to have a lot of ear infections and things like that. So fermented foods can really help to replenish your gut microbiome and make you a healthier person all around, and make your skin better, lower your blood pressure, everything. Okay, so that was just a little. Does anyone else have anything to say or any questions about fermentation in general? Okay, I think TPZ, are you on?
Yeah, I am.
Yay, okay. So TPZ is on, and I know she can't stay very long. So, I wanted her to talk a little bit about sauerkraut, and she's been making a ton of it lately and giving it out to the people to help them be healthier, and she might want to talk about why she's been doing that. But yeah, I'll leave it to her for a couple of minutes. If you're ready, Mashke.
Yeah, I'm ready. Good morning, and my name is TPZ Tolman. I'm from Standing Rock, but I live in Eastern Washington. I'm currently a guest in the Nimipu homelands and the Palouse people of Eastern Washington. And so I guess where it all started was just my fear and anxieties as a mom, and wondering what I could do personally for my children to be safe from this virus. And I also previously worked as an immersion instructor in a preschool, and I just was privy to seeing germs and how germs get passed around amongst children. My children, at one point, my oldest three one was in the high school, the middle school, and the elementary school, and I used to just think about those pools of germs that they would bring home, and also used to kind of wonder why preschool is so heavy on, which I think is wonderful, on brushing your teeth and washing your hands. And then when they go to kindergarten, that's not a priority anymore in the school. But as preschool, you know, it's really important. And then, so I kind of used to joke and wish that those kinds of time set aside in school for children to brush their teeth and to wash their hands often, those were things that I just thought about often. And when Washington State was initially the first state to have coronavirus, I had a lot of anxiety, and I did research online primarily. I just did a lot of Google searching. What could I do to help boost my children's immunity? And paired with that is really important for me to share that we had attended a healing or a doctoring for a family, and that family that is a family that we're really close with, that we're really that we really love. And one of the recommendations that came through that doctoring for our family was that they excuse me, sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback. I don't know what's going on, but
yeah, could everyone mute themselves, please? Just so that, and we can hear you great, TPZ. We can't hear the feedback, but I can hear
okay.
things in the background. So if, like, Christina, if you could mute yourself and others, that'd be awesome. Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sitting outside, so I might have some like birds and some trucks go by, but I guess, so after that, one of the recommendations that came from that doctoring for my family, for my loved ones, was to eat sauerkraut, and that it would be homemade, and that it wouldn't have a lot of the any kind of additives from like if it was made to have shelf life or anything like that. And the recommendation was that it was homemade. And the reason why, and probably Linda shared already how that works with antibiotics and just a diet that consists of things that come from boxes or cans. And when those things are involved, and they always are, you know, just with our modern diets, our gut health really is not good. And so it was related to the family's struggle with being on antibiotics and really strong medications for their sickness, and so it really stripped their ability to fight off infections. And the recommendation was that they eat sauerkraut. They incorporate sauerkraut or fermented foods in their daily lives. And so that experience was right before the pandemic started, and then just doing some research and trying to figure out how to make it. And I talk often about how living in Eastern Washington had seeing the disparity between my home community on Standing Rock, which has the one grocery store, versus this community where I have multiple grocery options and multiple healthy food options. I just knew that I was able to make sauerkraut. I didn't have to travel 80 miles round trip to go get specific cabbage or a specific kind of salt or anything like that. And so I actually found a recipe online, and I just tried it. I tried it. It was a little bit salty the first time. And I think that's kind of you just try it, and sometimes that's the way it turns out. But I began making more and more, and it's, I've been sending it to individual families, some on Standing Rock, but also a lot of it gets sent to Rosebud, and as well as Rapid City. They have a community COVID relief. And I do prefer to send it to people that I know are getting it out. It's really hard when you send it to entities, because then they might have some barriers in place where things don't flow as fast to those who need it, as fast as, you know, as they need it. And so I've been doing my best to get that out and to share that story, because I don't think that our people know a lot about those things, and it's just it's important, and we're all learning. And so I've been doing a lot of sauerkraut. I live between I live about an hour and a half south of Spokane, Washington, right along the border, and there are multiple food vendors for restaurants specifically, so I can go to a store that has like industrial sized already shredded lettuce, like as a coleslaw mix for restaurants, and they're actually, it's easier to do it that way than but it's just cost effective to do that. And so I will go travel, get that, and then I'll make the sauerkraut, and it's about a 6-week turnaround to make it. And I have about 3 big containers brewing right now. And when they're ready to go, I'll send them to whoever needs them. So if you're on this call right now and you are part of a community relief effort, or if you yourself know families that maybe in your family or neighbors who maybe it's not specifically this virus, but their immunity is already compromised, I can totally send you guys some. So usually I'm on my social media, so you can find me on social media. My name's TPZ Tolman, and you can call me TP if you want. It's easier to remember. And that's about it. Okay, heard that. I heard it. But thank you, Linda, for inviting me. I appreciate it, and I encourage everyone too, as well, to make your own. It doesn't take a lot. 1 head of cabbage and some coarse, no additive sea salt. Those are the 2 ingredients right there. And real fast, the last thing I'll share is the recipe. So I weigh the cabbage, and then I times the cabbage. I multiply it by 0.02, and whatever that number is, that's how much salt I add. And then you sprinkle the salt, you crunch it with your hands, it'll get really soggy, and then you push it down as far as you can into the container. You tamp it down as hard as you can, and then you seal it. I know online there's like weights and things like that you can do to press down that seal, but I just use what I have. And so I use like one of our dinner plates or things like that, whatever it is, you know, you just make it work. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to buy a fermenting set or anything like that. You just work with what you have, and it happens really fast. It's really cool, actually. The more you let it sit, the stronger it gets. And so that's why I like to let it sit for a while, preferably a month, but I like the 6-week mark. But you can easily just
I don't know if we lost TPZ. Did we lose you, dear? Are you still on, TPZ? Okay. So just to answer that question, Bobby, no water. No water. It is literally just cabbage out. And, you know, different people have different measurements. TPZ has perfected her recipe. And so it's like, I really like watching her work with hers. But, you know, it's really just as easy as that. So just to talk a little bit more about sauerkraut, since we lost her, I actually think she weighs hers whole, or she gets the bags that are already weighed from a supply place. But, you know, we have cabbage in our garden this year. So like we have these beautiful heads of cabbage, and, you know, we take off the outside leaves before we shred it. So like for example, I started cutting this one up earlier for you guys. I cut it in half and then I core it. I take out this center core here, you know, just by making a couple. It's hard to do in the air so that you guys can see it. And I don't have like some awesome setup. But you know, you just remove the core from the cabbage and then you just start slicing it. I like shredding it thin. So for example, you know, thin shreds. And I have a little bit in a bowl right here. Can you pass me? Oh, and then I use just coarse pink Himalayan salt. Let me talk about salt for just a second. TPZ mentioned good coarse salt. This is pink Himalayan salt. And I know a lot of you probably have ethical concerns about Himalayan salt. It is possible to find fair trade pink Himalayan salt. It's difficult, but they exist. And that's what this is. This is fair trade pink Himalayan salt. And it takes a little more effort to find. But there are concerns, ethical concerns about pink Himalayan salt because a lot of companies, big companies, are abusing people and not giving them fair wages and things like that, where these salt mines are located. So you want to be really careful about where you get yours. The other thing is a lot of people use sea salt, coarse sea salt, and that's totally fine too. The reason I choose not to use sea salt is because of the presence of microplastics. I won't go into it too much, but if you Google microplastics in sea salt, you'll find that it's true. Unfortunately, all the plastics that have ever been produced still exist, right? And a lot of them are in the ocean and they get broken down and they're present in water and salt water. They're present even in the flesh of fish that we eat. Yay, TPZ's back on. So TPZ, we just wanted some clarification on your recipe. If you could just say that again.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. So the recipe that I've been using is just plain cabbage. And I believe you can use fine salt. The recipe that I was going off of called for coarse. Let me grab it. Hold on just a moment. So this is the salt that I've been using. And there is a fine option as well. And I do believe that that would work just fine. And again, I weigh the cabbage in grams. Sorry, I didn't specify that. I weigh it in grams. And then however much the cabbage is, I will multiply times 0.02. And then whatever that number equals, that's how much salt you add. And then you just crunch it down together. I just sprinkle in the smaller batches. I will keep the bowl. Well, for the bigger batches, I'll keep the bowl of salt next to me, and then I'll do it like in layers. Yeah, I won't, do it all together just because it's a lot. And it actually hurts my hands after a while. I don't have super strong hands, and so it's kind of ends up being some work. You have to put in some work and energy, but okay. So repeating the recipe, I will weigh the cabbage in grams, and then I multiply it times 0.02. And that's the amount of salt that you add. And it's a really common thing to add a little bit too much, and then your sauerkraut is a little bit salty. But it's okay. It'll still be okay. Just encourage everyone to just try it. Just try it out. Even if you start with one head of cabbage and one jar, just try it. And I believe that it will be helpful. You do have to check on it because it produces, I'm not sure what it's definitely having a reaction. And so it needs to be burped every day. You have to open the lid and you can smell it. It's pretty tough smelling. My husband likes to tease, and it's kind of a chore I give to my kids who, when they're kind of being stinkers, my oldest teenagers, then their job is to burp sauerkraut, because I'll say, so it can match your attitude.
Awesome. That's so awesome. Thank you so much. I
had one more question about where I store it. So I do have a shed where I live, and it's really dark and cool in there, and so that's where I put them. And initially I had them just in my house in the kitchen, but there's a little bit too much traffic there. So
thank you so much, TPZ. I don't know if you have to go, but if you can stick around and answer more questions or whatever, that would be awesome too.
I can stick around for about a half hour more. So I'm here.
Oh, very good. Awesome. Okay. So I just wanted to show you all, I just cut up and shredded. So TPZ, while you were gone, I was showing them that we grew cabbage in our garden this year, and I can send you some because it ships very well. But it turned out great. And I shredded up about half of it. And, different people have different recipes. TPZ's recipe is awesome. The big thing is what she said. Just do it. Just get in there and do it. And the next time, if you think, oh, I added too much salt last time, just add less next time. Don't be afraid to get started and to give it a try and do it, because that's really what's so important, is just getting in there and doing it. So I forgot to give some background when I started, but my mom is half Korean and half Mongolian. And so I grew up eating kimchi and fermented foods as an everyday part of my life. And, literally every day. And so someone was asking about, how do you eat this stuff? I think Mashke TPZ, I think you were saying that you guys just eat a tablespoon of it a day. Is that right?
Yeah, what I do is I have Dixie cups. Again, when the pandemic, we were doing a Dixie of elderberry, a Dixie of sauerkraut, as well as vitamins for our kids. And so, roughly, I would recommend a heaping tablespoon every day. And if you can do more, like would actually be ideal.
Yeah. And I have a 5-year-old, and Evie will eat basically a quarter cup of kimchi per day, or what we call kimchi with sauerkraut. He doesn't know that. And you can really make sauerkraut and kimchi of almost you have laying around. Like if you, I happen to have a head of fish, some jalapenos to use, and a dash that I had not used. So I just chopped them all up and put some salt on top and put them in this jar. And this one has been in the fridge for a little while. This is gone over fragrant. Delicious. And so something like I would in a roll would serve over chili. I would serve bean soup. You know how a lot of people will vinegar in their bean soup? Put sauerkraut or kimchi in your bean soup in that. There's recipe line you'll see for kimchi. It's delicious, and you're getting all kimchi in there. It's amazing. But sauerkraut, have it on top. If you eat hot dogs or brats, have it there. Mix it in with some mashed potatoes. Think of sauerkraut and as sort of an acid. So if you have anything that you're eating where you need some acid, you can do that. So when I make it, find a recipe that you're comfortable with. A lot of recipes that I have seen say that you have medium heads of it. Use about a cup of salt. Okay, that's and whatever you define as a head of cabbage, at least maybe a cup of salt. I use salt, I think. Probably. I've never really measured it, but I would bet that I use a slow fermentation. I can tell you, this is one of my jars, okay? And this is going on over that it's meant. Then I would put it just because it will get incredibly fermented. Where it is very pungent. Now, I personally love that because I grew up with it. Again, my mom is half Korean, right, and half Mongolian. I'm used to some pretty strong flavors in my life. The only thing my kids don't get as much when it ferments too quickly. That's the reason. That's to say that a lot of people in Korea will take their jars of kimchi and bury them underground for a year and let them ferment a year. So, cool, dark place. So it don't go bad. How long, once fermented, how long in the fridge? Kind of forever. Yeah, exact time. My mom will say that kimchi, bestie, I ferment it, and granted, has apple cider vinegar in it, beer, let it keep going. It was fine. The best thing when you're fermenting, so my bowl, this is just a bowl of cabbage, and I'm gonna add some salt onto it here. And like I said, I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, I added some salt onto here, and I'm just gonna massage. Oh yeah, massage the cabbage, massage salt into there, and I'm gonna show you guys a bit. I'm gonna leave this here after I massage that salt to it a little bit. I'm gonna keep it for a while, and we'll come back to this so that you guys see, right? It's perfect crunchy cabbage right now, okay? And you can see it's filled the bowl. We'll come to this and you guys can see the impact, the effect that that salt has, okay? All right, I'm gonna set that aside first. And I'm gonna answer some questions to make sure that too about kimchi. Kimchi is just basically sour, okay? But it's addition of the extra medicines that I really like. So it's in the onions and the garlic and the ginger. Those are amazing antiviral herbs, antiviral food medicine for our bodies. And so radish in there, which is also fantastic for your body. So bowl here, okay? Now when I stopped like an hour ago, this was piled this high, okay? I put my Napa cabbage. All I did was I took it and I chopped it up. That's all I did, okay? Put that in the bowl, 1 Napa cabbage. I took my my daikon radish, and I cut it into half moons. And I was in there. You can ferment anything. Put almost anything in kimchi. I had some organic garden carrots. So I shredded those with shredder. My mom would be mad at me for using this because she believes everything into kimchi should be hand cut. I just don't have time for that stuff. So I just shredded the carrot and put it in here, okay? So I have my daikon, my Napa cabbage, my carrot, and some fresh green onion I put in there. Now, when you guys, if you put onions, you know those big, long green tops again? You don't waste those and throw those away. Don't waste those. I take the green parts, and that's what I put in kimchi, okay? You know, if you have garlic onions, amazing. Take those and put those in here. So that's what I have in here. Napa cabbage, green onions, carrots, and daikon radish. And I just salted the whole thing. In Korean, the word for doing that is killing the cabbage. It's called the cabbage, and which is kind of cool, right? I mean, I don't know if that's cool. Is it cool or morbid? But you know, what they're saying is they're, you know, getting rid of it, right? And I could squeeze it and get more of this liquid out. This brine, a salt brine, that's actually really easy. You could save that and use it for ferments. If you are worried that you might have oversalted, the nice thing about kimchi is that if you're worried, it's correct. But if you're worried that you oversalted it, you can actually take the mixture and rinse it with some clean, fresh water and get salt off of there, okay? I favor more on like, okay, quite a bit of salt in there. But you know, obviously you don't want it to be so salty that people can't eat it. Okay, so I have my vegetables all salted, all releasing their water in the bowl, okay? I also have in here, now we're gonna make our kimchi paste, okay? I have my kimchi vegetables. This is my kimchi paste. So in case you guys were wondering, wait a minute, where's the garlic and the ginger? I do that separately. I have ground up ginger, fresh ginger, okay, that I've ground up. I have minced garlic as well. So minced ginger, minced garlic, and then chopped up green onion, okay? Now, there's no easy way. TBZ, I was making fire cider the other day, and you said your fingers hurt from peeling all the garlic. There's just no easy way. Everyone has their, my husband puts his into a jar, and the unpeeled cloves of garlic into a jar and shakes them up forever, and then they come out peeled. It washes the excess paper off, you know? I take my garlic cloves and I smash them, and then the paper comes off pretty easily. But in order to chop garlic, I'm gonna teach you guys something that's gonna change your life, okay? For me, chopping garlic never gets it minced enough. And I hate using garlic presses because I feel like half of the garlic clove is wasted. I hate using food processors because I feel like all that good garlic is left in the bowl of the food processor. My mom, my entire life, has taken the bottle of soy sauce that we have, and she flips it over and she uses it. She mashes the garlic with it. I wish I could really, maybe we could bring that down a little bit. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, right there. Just for a second. So you guys see this clove of garlic? Perfect. Wow. Clove of garlic right there. Okay, go ahead, set it back up. Oh, hold on, wait, one more time. Look, this is ginger, so I've taken my ginger root and I've peeled and sliced it. Okay, go ahead, and watch this, okay? So I've taken, if you guys have ever tried to mince ginger before, it's a pain in the ass, okay? Look at that, perfectly minced ginger, okay? Ready to use in your kimchi or whatever you're gonna use them for, okay? So I have my garlic, my ginger, and my green onions in here. And then the essential ingredient for kimchi is gochugaru, okay? That's the kimchi powder, the red pepper powder. And I'll kind of try to show you a little bit of it on my fingers. You see that? Not totally powdered, not cayenne powder, okay? It's a very specific kind of stuff, okay? And it's, you know, you can make yours organic. You can grind it up yourself if you get the right peppers. But this stuff is amazing. It's fragrant, it's kind of smoky, but it's fantastic. And so I have my garlic, my ginger, and some very finely chopped up green onion in here. I'm just gonna add my gochugaru to, yeah, use all of it. And now, here is where things get different, okay? Some people will use fermented shrimp paste to make up of this. Some people use water, right? My vegan friends will use water. Some people will use pear puree. So like a sugar, pear puree. Some people will use applesauce. And I've even seen a lot of Koreans these days using 7-Up soda. 7-Up, no lie. I can't do it, y'all. I just can't do that. In here, just to reiterate, all I have is garlic, ginger, onion, and the gochugaru, okay? I personally, in order to make a paste, and this is the reason why maybe I'm gentle on the salt, is because I used sauce and water to make this into a paste, okay? So I add just enough, and then I stir it around with spoon. Can you grab some water for me?
Mashke, do you use fish sauce ever?
Some people do. So I don't like the fishy taste in kimchi. I don't agree with you. Okay, so let me just show you this here. Do you see that? You see, it's not really tasty. Remember, they have pieces of napa cabbage. Okay, and they chop up the napa cabbage. They just simply went like this. They would quarter it. So they'd cut it in half, and then quarters like this. And there'd be a lady sitting, you know, it's like an assembly line, and there'd be a lady sitting there, and they would take the kimchi paste, and they would go leaf by leaf. So they start off with the bottom layer, and they would smear. Can you come leaf for me? Okay. I'll show you guys. So they'd take they'd kimchi paste in their hands like this, would smear some in there, and then they'd lay the next leaf down, and the next leaf down, and put more in there. And this, of course, is after they salted these. So, you know, they would have these sort of salted quarters of napa cabbage, and they would just smear that. I'm not going to waste this. I'll eat it raw with some rice later. Go ahead, put it down. Like the other thing about this kimchi, what I call kimchi paste, it's so good you can use it as a dip for cucumbers. You know, cut up some cucumbers, and you can use this as a dip. Add a little bit of vinegar in here, it's even better. Yes, you can use tamari instead. It's just fantastic stuff. I will make this kimchi paste ahead of time, and jars. So we'll huge jar of it in the fridge. And so anytime that I need or I want to make a batch of kimchi, I will bring out my kimchi paste, chop up some vegetables, and add the kimchi paste to it, and it's all ready, you know? So it's just a really nice thing to keep around. You can also spice soups and stews and all kinds of stuff. To me, when I look at this is medicine. You know, I don't use skin just because it's papery, but it won't hurt anything, but it just doesn't have a great texture, just to answer the question there. But to me, this is medicine. This is ginger and garlic and onion and red peppers. This right here will lower your blood pressure, lower your cholesterol, and that's why I think it's so awesome to have products in the kimchi, because you're adding medicine to medicine, right? Can you hand me that big white bowl? So here again, let me come back to my kimchi vegetables here. I'm just going to reiterate, all I have in here is napa cabbage, onion, carrot, and daikon radish, okay? If you had some turnip growing from your garden, like here's some garden turnips from our garden, you can chop up the greens. No reason to waste those, okay? And you can certainly use garden turnips in your kimchi, okay? I just wanted to tell you that. So here I have my vegetables, sorry. So I have my garden vegetables, I have my kimchi paste, and I'm just going to use my hands, because I always do. And I'm going to add that, and I'm just going to massage it. Now, obviously, you guys are going to have to watch me wash my hands. I can't after I do this. Okay. Oh my God, you guys, it's perfect. Mouth is watering just doing this. Fresh kimchi is really tasty too, but you know, fermentation is the whole point. But I'll probably eat a quarter of this before it gets squishy. You can hear it, can't you? You see that? All right. Now, this so I actually have some of these crocks. I grew up, my mom had one of those old things that you made butter in, and that's what she would make kimchi in. It was like a 5-gallon crock. I found some of these online, and they even come with their own cute little weights to weigh things down, because here's one of the keys to fermentation, okay? You have to keep it liquid. Any of the plants above the liquid can get moldy, okay? You don't want that to happen. Sometimes you add enough salt, the stuff above the line, above the water line, liquid line will go bad, okay? So you have to make sure it stays below. TBZ was saying it doesn't have to be fancy, and she's right. You know, we used to break stick half and make an X with sticks to hold them down below the line. Now, you know, I've gotten all bougie and I have these cool Crocs. But you know, like I was one of my non-Korean indigenous friends the other day. She made kimchi and used a fermentation lock, or like a water lock. Have you guys seen those? It allows the gas to release. And I thought, well, that's, you know, science and tradition meeting. So I just take my kimchi. Look at all that liquid coming off of there. I just put it into my Crocs.
We had to buy the supplies or whatever, and so we were laughing about how much that would be, and he was trying to make this like 50-gallon drum for me, but it's on the dream list.
Yes, there and you know, there's a company out of Ohio. It's called Ohio Stoneware in Zanesville, Ohio. Can you show me? Can I show her that? So they make the old fashioned kind. I mean, it's better when a family member makes it, but you know, this is like one of those old style ones, and they've been making them for many, many years. This thing, I treasure it, you know. It wasn't cheap though, you know what I mean? I got it, my husband got it for me as a gift, and I really treasure it because it comes with these, you know, it comes with these cool weights. And then it comes with like a cool lid that you don't have to burp or whatever. But you know, if anyone wants to invest, or hey, I'm just gonna say it, if any of you want to donate one to TPZ for all the work that she does in her community, Ohio Stoneware, okay? I'll give you her address. Oh, and I also wanted to say these earrings were made by TPZ many years ago. I got these earrings from her, and they're my favorite, so that's why I'm wearing them today. But okay, so I put my kimchi into the crock. I clean off the edges. I made a mess. But I put my kimchi into here, and where's that? Oh, I just wanted to show you, these crocks come with, you know, they're kind of fancy. They come with this cool baseball bat that, you know, if you get mad at someone, you can use that too. But it's a very, very good way of letting out aggression. You can do this with your sauerkraut or your kimchi, and just tamp it down into the crock, and make sure that it stays below the make sure that it stays below the liquid line. Okay, so kimchi done. Salted my vegetables, made my kimchi paste, put it into a crock. That's all it is. Okay, don't be afraid. Like that's just the one thing that you know, that I find with so many of these ventures, whether it's gardening, whether it's fermenting foods, you know, cooking in general, people are so scared to get started that sometimes they'll just, it will make paralyze themselves, right? They'll be like, oh God, I'm so worried that I'm gonna not do it right. You guys just give it a try, okay? Kimchi, cabbage is like, you know, depending on where you're at, cabbage is really inexpensive. And so if it's too salty the first time, eat it anyway. And next time, correct yourself, okay? So, you know, don't be afraid to do it. Don't be afraid to get started. Oh, check this out already. Look, this is the sauerkraut I'm making. And already, how long has it been? Like not even 20 minutes or something. And it's already wilting down. That salt is already having that chemical process with this cabbage. And if I massaged it enough, I probably could pour some water off of here, but I keep all the water for the sauerkraut. With kimchi, I drain some of it off just because I don't want it to be too liquidy, but it will, I don't drain it from here. Once it's in the crock, I don't drain it anymore, okay? If it gets moldy, can you take that part off and still eat the rest? It depends on how pervasive the mold is. If you catch it before, you know, when it's just on one leaf that's sticking up, yeah, you can. But if you don't catch it early enough, you're gonna have to get rid of it. And yeah, clean the sides of the jar and stuff to keep it clean, okay? Now let me, before we really move on, or before I let you guys go, let me just talk about the fact that what we're doing here today, notice we didn't use any vinegar. TPZ didn't use vinegar. I didn't use vinegar. And that's because vinegar will actually inhibit the growth of the lactic acid, or the formation of the lactic acid that you want in there, right? Because vinegar is acetic acid. But vinegar is a fermented product and has its own benefits, okay, on its own. But if you use it to make pickles, if you use, you know, like maybe you make pickles and you use a brine with vinegar, it will not form lactic acid, okay? When I make pickles, I make lacto fermented pickles, okay? And so I just use cucumbers and salt and some spices when I make pickles. That's all I use. I don't use vinegar, okay? But vinegar is an amazing fermented product. And Jerry, are you on? Do you have, can we hear you?
I switched my computers. Can you hear me?
Awesome.
I think you're muted, Linda.
Okay, sorry. This is my friend Jerry John Drew from Dynamite Hill Farms up in Michigan. He's an Ojibwe brother, and he makes maple vinegar. So he ferments maple syrup. You start with syrup, right? Not sap, yeah. He ferments maple syrup, and it's one of the most amazing products ever in the universe. I use maple vinegar in salad dressing. We use it, gosh, what have we made with it? I mean, we just use maple vinegar in so many different things. Anything where you would use apple cider vinegar, you can use maple vinegar, and it's a natural product, obviously. It's a traditional product, and it's just the flavor with the maple plus the fermentation is fantastic. Do you want to talk for a second about that?
Yeah, sure. Zoom, I'm still like awkward on Zoom, like talking to a computer, so I'm sorry about that. But get the gabaju ne jinaka zaji jacques and dudam we kwedong and dojabano juboy nishnabe and ini and dao. So thank you for the introduction, Linda. My name is Jerry Jondro. I'm from the Keweenaw Indian community. We're part of the Lake Superior Ojibwe in Michigan in the Upper Peninsula. And we are operating Dynamite Hill Farms, where we're trying to get back to the land, back to traditional foods and back to our responsibilities to the land. And one of those things that we're getting into is vinegar production. And so I've experimented with that over the last couple of years. And actually the best batch that I ever made, I didn't do anything to it. I just let it do its own thing. And now I'm trying to get a little bit more fancy, and I think I've complicated the whole process a little bit more, but it's still working. So, you know, when you talk about like culture and technology kind of merging, you know, and these airlock systems that you use for fermentation, that's what we're trying to do now, just to try and have a little bit more control in the process, I guess. So with vinegar fermentation, it's a two-stage fermentation. So initially you start with the sugary base, whatever you want to use. You can use, you know, for wines, for example, right? They use grapes. You want that sugar, and that sugar is what gets fermented through the alcoholic process. The sugars get transferred into alcohol. Once you have alcohol, then it goes through the acetic fermentation process, and that creates the acetic acid, which is the vinegars. So we're still experimenting with that. Maple syrup is kind of a tricky one to get a hold of, because there's so much going on within the syrup itself. Like from a chemistry perspective, the syrup actually changes throughout the season, and I think that there's actually a difference between which syrups will ferment better, because you have invert sugars and you have non-invert sugars, and I think those actually play a pretty significant role in the fermentation process. So we're trying to unlock all that knowledge again here, and it's proving to be pretty challenging, but we're getting it. But we also do, I mean, we're experimenting with other things too. So we have some apple cider vinegar that we made from our orchard in the backyard as well. Again, you have to make the hard apple cider first. And then once you have the alcohol, then you can actually get to the acetic acid or the vinegar that you want. We have a little bit of maple vinegar here. I'll be rebottling these things, but we do have a batch that's ready to go. We also, I'm experimenting right now with a strawberry vinegar. So we have a lot of strawberries around here, and I've successfully made alcohol with that, and now it's kind of resting and it's going to the acetic acid process. And so how I'm doing that, one of the best ways to give that process a jump start. So once you have alcohol, you need to basically introduce some of those acetic bacteria into the solution. And so we were successful with the apple cider vinegar, and we don't, I don't know if you can see that floating on top. That's kind of the mother. I don't know if you can see that or not. And then there's some goodies kind of floating in the bottom too. So this is all unpasteurized stuff. I think the commercial stuff, they pasteurize it many of the times, so you don't have the mother in there. Some of them do. I think Bragg still has some of the mother in it. But to give your vinegar a jump start, if you can actually introduce some of that some of that acetic bacteria that's already formed, then you give that process a jump start. So we're using a little bit of our apple cider vinegar that we have, and we're putting that into, basically it's maple wine. So after it's fermented, it becomes maple wine. Then we're introducing a little bit of that apple cider vinegar in there with the mother to jumpstart that process. And it's taken us about 6 months or so, 6 to 8 months from beginning to end of the process. So it takes a long time, but you really don't have to do anything, which is kind of the cool thing. You know, you let those bacteria just kind of go to work. I'm not sure how technical you want me to be, but
Well,
they're,
something, Jerry, that I think in a question is the mother the same thing as a SCOBY, like that's used to make kombucha? Is it the same?
I think it is. I think it is. I think that's that bacterial mat that you want, that gives you all that beneficial bacteria for your gut health. But when you're, and again, I agree with everything that you guys were talking about with regards to the sauerkraut and the kimchi, and we do some of that of ourselves as well. We're not maybe as classy, so we use cayenne and stuff like that. I know you said not to, but we're not that cool quite yet. But it's all turned out really good. And for a quick snack too, we use some of our minoan that we harvest, and we use that instead of white rice as the bed for that kimchi. And oh my gosh, is it good! And for a quick snack, oh, you can't beat it.
We do that too, and we'll even make fried rice with wild rice and put kimchi in there too. So.
Oh man, it's so good. It really is. But I would say go ahead and start experimenting with fermentation. If you start getting really technical, which is what we're trying to get into right now, you can start. They have a lot of different instruments that you can use. So you want to know what your specific gravity is when you start out. You want to know basically how much sugar is in your solution, because that will determine the alcoholic volume at the end of the first fermentation stage. And you want to kind of control that a little bit too, because if there's too much sugar in there, your alcohol may not, or the sugars may not fully ferment, because it gets so alcoholic that it kills the yeast that's doing the alcoholic fermentation. So if you can, that's why we're trying to get a little bit more control, so that we can actually get a full fermentation in the process. So we've spent some money on some equipment now. So we do have 2 fermenters at our house. We have specific gravity floats that basically sit in the solution, and they communicate via Bluetooth, so we actually can track what's going on inside of those fermenters. But there's all kinds of recipes on the internet. If you just want to mess with some strawberry wine, something like that, just to give yourself try your hand at it. I mean, those are fairly easy. But the other thing that I think that we're trying to do different here is that if you look at a lot of those recipes, they call for a lot of sugar. They call for like a lot of white sugar in the process. And so we're trying to not use white sugar, and we're using maple sugar instead. And what we're also finding is that we need to expand our sugaring operation, because we are going through an awful lot of syrup and sugar during the fermentation process. But we're trying to keep everything as local as possible. Sourcing our berries from places that do organic farming. Our apples come from the backyard. Our sugar comes from the trees in the backyard. So we're trying to be responsible during this entire process as well. But that maple vinegar is good. Like Linda had said, it's good on so many different things. And the benefits of vinegar, I think, are completely understated. In general, there was an elder that had started drinking apple cider vinegar. He was having arthritis problems and weight gain problems, and he started drinking apple cider vinegar every single day. And actually, I gifted him the majority of the batch that I made this last fall, and he actually said it was the best apple cider vinegar he's ever had. I don't know, how true that is, but, during these processes when you're making food, I think it's really important that you put that love into it, because that will transfer into the foods itself. And if you take your time with it and you're careful with all those ingredients, I think that does come through in the flavor at the end of what you're doing. So
what's your website, Jerry? Because we're kind of getting low on time, and I wanted to talk about a couple more things. But
sure.
what website? Where should people go? Because you actually might have some maple vinegar for sale, right?
Yeah, we have one little batch that is completed, and we've got a few other batches that'll probably be done pretty soon too, probably within the next month. So we're a really small family operation on the reservation, and so we don't have a really cool website. But we prefer to actually engage with our customers and people that are interested. So Facebook is probably the best way to get in touch with us. Dynamite Hill Farms. If you search that in Facebook, you'll find our page there. Then you can just send us a message on Facebook. If you don't have Facebook, you can just send us an email at dynamitehillfarms@gmail.com. And if it seems like everyone on here is pretty cool, so I'll give you my cell phone number too if anyone's interested, and just call me or text or something. It's 906-235-6177.
Awesome. And you can put those in the chat too, Jerry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That would be awesome, just so people can see it.
I wasn't prepared to talk, so I'm all in my farming glory to hop on here. So I apologize that. I know everyone else is all looking good and sharp, and I'm just all grungy, but that's the way it goes.
Great. Now, and just so you guys know, I'm going to be going to see Jerry this week sometime. Luke and I are going to head up there because Jerry has supplied a lot of the maple syrup and the maple sugar that we've been giving to elders all over, I think it's a 10,000 mile square radius that we're serving, but we've been giving food kits out. And his Dynamite Hill Farms has been supplying a lot of that maple syrup and maple sugar. So Miigwech, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you later this week. I just wanted to say a couple more things before I let you guys go. Jen, how much can I have? 5 more minutes?
Maybe. You go as long as you want.
Well, I won't keep you guys that long, just 5 more minutes or so. I know it's tough to stay on a computer for a long period of time, but I just wanted to say, I wanted to reinforce the fact that you can ferment anything. And what Jerry, not Jeremy, guys, Jerry, Jerry Jandrew, what Jerry was saying about, he was using strawberries, he was using maple syrup, he was using all kinds of stuff. You can ferment anything. And a lot of people actually will ferment fruit. They'll lacto ferment fruit, meaning they'll cut up a bunch of pineapple in a bowl, cover it with salt, and press it down into their jars or crocks. You can ferment fruit, okay? Grapes, people ferment grapes. People ferment, like I said, pineapple. Pineapple's probably my favorite. But all kinds of fruits, oranges and apples. You can mix a bunch of fruit cocktail together and put some salt on there and lacto ferment fruit. Okay, it doesn't just have to be vegetables. But I wanted to say you can ferment, make kimchi or sauerkraut out of wild foods too. Just go outside and collect a bunch of dandelion greens and add those to your kimchi or your sauerkraut. Amazing. Okay, I love the bitterness, the slight bitterness of dandelion greens. So good. Look at here. Yesterday I found a bunch of gorgeous purslane growing. Are you familiar with purslane? Portulaca Oloraceae. It's kind of a thick, almost succulent type of plant. Can you hear that crunch? So good. Kind of sour, kind of sweet, no bitterness, super delicious. If you're not familiar with purslane, it's probably growing out in the cracks of your driveway right now. It grows flat against the ground like this. I'm gonna I have a bunch of it that I harvested yesterday, and I'm gonna be fermenting this. If you have never tried fermented purslane on top of your tacos, you are totally missing out. They are delicious. And I use purslane too to make verdolagas, which is a traditional dish from Mexico, where they stew purslane with pork. Oh my God, it is like one of my most favorite foods ever. So if you have purslane and you want to make some amazing food, you can make verdolagas or you can ferment it. So good. And just do the same thing. Chop it up and put it into a jar with salt. Okay, that's all. That's all it is, guys. Oh, if you are a person like me who likes everything spicy, we have jalapenos from our garden. Make some delicious fermented jalapenos. Add some jalapenos like I did. Actually, these might have been serranos I had left over. Add some to your sauerkraut if you like your sauerkraut to be spicy. You can ferment anything is my point. And don't miss out on that. This is the great way to preserve your garden for the winter, okay? And it is salty, but you can add it to things that aren't salty, add it to your soups and stews and add less salt there. It's just really good. I wanted to say one last thing. We do use soy sauce, and for some of you, this might blow your mind a little. We use soy sauce to ferment stuff. Soy sauce is an already fermented product, but you can actually have lactic acid fermentation using soy sauce as a brine. You can use coconut aminos too if you don't like soy, but we pickled, did you hear that beautiful pop? We pickled ramps. These are our ramps in soy sauce this year. Hear that crunch? Do not waste your ramp leaves. Nothing is more frustrating for me. My breath is gonna really stink now. Nothing is more upsetting to me when people only use the ramp bulbs and they throw all those gorgeous leaves away. Ferment those ramp leaves. We love them in soy sauce because it's so delicious in a rice bowl or like in a poke bowl. You can do that, and it's so super easy, and it has just a different flavor. It's so good. But they're still crunchy. So it's a great way to preserve all of your amazing fruits and vegetables that you don't want to go bad. You can freeze stuff, but what if the shit hits the fan, excuse my language, and the electricity goes out and everything in your freezer thaws, right? So that's why food preservation is so important. I'm gonna do some more talks on food preservation over the next few weeks. I wanna talk about drying, dehydrating. This is fermenting, but I also wanna talk about freeze drying and things like that. Pickling. So, stay tuned for more workshops on food preservation, because right now is the time to really start thinking about this. More people that I know have gardens than ever before. Okay. And, so it's really important to also, how many times have you just let your dandelions go to waste because you don't have anything to do with them? Turn them into kimchi and you can keep them forever until next season's dandelions come around. Okay. I want to say one more thing. If you don't have time or you don't like to cook, which is crazy to me, there are companies who do lacto ferments. There's companies where you can buy ferments. If you don't have time or the inclination, there's a family-owned company out of Florida, and these guys are so amazing and so nice. They sell fermented products, all kinds of sauerkrauts and stuff like that, but their stuff isn't that cheap, and it's not that cheap to send. But I don't have a lot of raw olives sitting around, so I do buy my fermented olives from Olive My Pickle. Okay. A great family-owned company, Olive My Pickle. So I really love their stuff. I'm trying to think if you guys, I wanted to say, so Jerry's Dynamite Hill Farms, maple syrup, maple sugar, maple vinegar now, but wild rice. If you guys are low on wild rice, Dynamite Hill Farms, they go out in canoes and get it themselves. I also wanted to say TPZ, I don't know if she's here anymore. She might. Oh, hi, sis. But if you guys are familiar with, can you put Ha'i Pajaja Pejuta's link in the chat, TPZ?
Yeah, sure, I will.
Okay. So if you guys are interested in the best homemade soaps that you've ever tried, and she also does scrubs and salves that are amazing for things like psoriasis and eczema. So, you know, if you're just now getting on fermented foods and you've had skin issues, her salves and her balms and her soaps are fantastic for the skin. And they're literally the only soap that we use in my family now. You know, she sells jewelry and things like that too, but she put the link in there. It means medicine soap. And so if you are interested in any of that, please go to her website and check it out. Lip balms. I'm trying to think of all the stuff. Oh, she has, I have a recipe that I use for hair growth. She made a shampoo bar out of that recipe for hair growth. So if you're having some trouble with thinning hair, try her shampoo bar that has the rosemary and things like that in it. So anyway, okay, so like it's that easy. Today we made a batch of kimchi, super easy. We started some sauerkraut, which, like, you guys remember how full this bowl was? It was to the top, right? Look at it now, okay? And this is recorded. There's also there is liquid in this bowl. See that liquid? That's the sauerkraut liquid, guys. That's all it is. This is all it is. I'm gonna put this into a jar and I'm done. If I wanted to add some garlic cloves in there, some jalapenos, some purslane, dandelion greens, I could totally do that, any of it, okay? All right, I love you guys. Miigwech and pilama yaye to everybody for being here, and kamsahamnida if you speak Korean. I'm so glad to have you guys, so honored that my friends could join me. Jen, thanks so much for organizing. It's going to be, this is recorded and going to be posted online in case you want to get some of the recipes, but I'm sure if you message any of us online on Facebook, we'll be happy to send you recipes as well. Thanks, TPZ. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Ehidna, you are all beautiful, Linda. It was good to finally see you again. Many blessings. Keep going, my friend. Love you, sis. Keep going.
Thank you so much. Good to see you. I'll see you guys later.
Doksha.
Doksha.